The baby was just born when his grandfather wanted to kill him because prophecies revealed that the child might be the reincarnation of Asaha Doji, the strongest onmyoji from 1,000 years ago. To prevent Doji from destroying the world, the grandfather felt compelled to kill his own grandson. However, the next second, all the Shikigami summoned by the grandfather were destroyed. The newborn's ability to summon Shikigami confirmed he was indeed Doji. The father immediately called upon the mountain god to intervene. But even the mountain god could not withstand a single attack from Doji's Shikigami. The Shikigami picked up the baby and prepared to leave. The mother was extremely anxious, but could do nothing as she was still pregnant with another child. Doji believed that his brother would follow in his footsteps and pursue the path to becoming the Shaman King. When the time came, he planned to return, consume his brother, and acquire greater power to destroy the world. People cannot escape their fate. With his own ability, the grandfather could not oppose Doji and had to place his hopes on his other grandson. He believed this child had the same potential as Doji, but he never imagined that the family's hereditary Shikigami techniques would be beyond the grasp of his grandson, Asakura Yo. Yo lacked the talent of an onmyoji and ambition. His biggest dream was to be an idle layabout. Left with no choice, the grandfather revealed a secret. The world was inhabited by humans, spirits, and ghosts. Many, like the Asakura family, could communicate with ghosts and were known as shamans. All things in the world were under the control of the Spirit King, or God. To prevent humanity's extinction, God communicated with a representative of the shamans periodically to guide human development. This representative was the Shaman King. Upon hearing this, Yo decided he wanted to become the Shaman King, amusingly, just to continue his lazy lifestyle. Thus, Yo embarked on a journey of training to find his guardian ghost, transferring to Funbari Hill School. There, he met his classmate Manta, who had never seen a shaman. Yo's summoned ghost frightened Manta. A ghost dressed as a samurai named Amidamaru caught Yo's attention. His tombstone revealed his name. Yo approached Manta to learn more about Amidamaru, a famous samurai from 600 years ago, whose relics were kept in the local museum. At the museum, Yo encountered the ghost attached to Amidamaru's sword, Mosuke, and hoped Mosuke would share Amidamaru's story. Meanwhile, Manta went to the cemetery to find Yo. Unexpectedly, a gang had taken over the cemetery as their hangout. The gang leader, Ryunosuke, was extremely arrogant, even disrespecting the once notorious Amidamaru by smashing his tombstone with a single strike. Unfortunately, Manta was discovered and beaten up by Ryunosuke. Seeing his friend bullied, Yo could not stand by. But Ryunosuke was formidable. Could Yo really defeat them? He is Amidamaru, a warrior who killed countless people 600 years ago. Now, seeking revenge, he can only transform into a spirit orb and fuse with Shaman Yo. Ryunosuke, experienced in street life, wasn't one to be easily intimidated by a young newcomer. He ordered his underlings to attack first. Yo immediately absorbed the spirit orb into his body, entering the soul integration form. In this fused mode, Yo's swordsmanship was divine, swiftly defeating 2 gang members with a single move. This is the power of a shaman, displaying a ghost's abilities in one's own body. Seeing his men defeated, Ryunosuke decided to step in himself. However, Yo dodged Ryunosuke's attack and then sliced off his hair. Ryunosuke's minions quickly fled with him. Many powerful ghosts linger in the world, attached to the living. Amidamaru is one of them. To become the Shaman King, Yo hopes to partner with him, but Amidamaru refuses. He has waited 600 years for his close friend Mosuke, with whom he once served the same master. However, their master ordered Amidamaru to kill Mosuke to prevent him from crafting a superior weapon. Amidamaru would never harm his friend, and Mosuke vowed to create the finest sword for him. Unbeknownst to Amidamaru, Mosuke was killed by others sent by their master. Ignorant of the truth, Amidamaru waited for 600 years, even fighting off thousands to stay at the promised meeting place, eventually dying from exhaustion after killing 1,000 men. Now, using his abilities, Yo fuses with Mosuke to forge a new sword, Harusame, in a blacksmith shop for Amidamaru. Mosuke has already moved on to the underworld. Learning that his friend fulfilled his promise, Amidamaru resolves his feelings. Grateful to Yo, he decides to help him become the Shaman King before returning to the underworld himself. Yo thus gains his first guardian ghost. All this is witnessed by a mysterious boy watching from a distance, who soon meets Yo again, this time while he is being attacked by a gang. Facing an oncoming car, the boy remained calm. He pulled out a golden token and summoned the ghost, Basin. After fusing with Basin, he sliced the car in half with a single strike. Amidamaru and others were stunned by this action. The boy, showing no sign of stopping, prepared to finish off the troublemakers completely. However, Yo intervened, stating that killing people indiscriminately is unacceptable for a shaman. The boy introduced himself as Tao Ren, a future contender for Shaman King. He argued that such scum wasted resources and cleansing the world was his mission. He also demanded Yo hand over Amidamaru, interested in the powerful spirit. Yo, having bonded with Amidamaru as friends, refused. Ren mocked this, claiming Yo couldn't harness Amidamaru's full potential. Both seeing each other unfavorably, they entered the soul integration form. Ren's guardian ghost was skilled in swordplay. He took advantage of Yo's dodging to launch a deadly attack, but Yo barely blocked it. Though Ren was slightly surprised, he considered it merely a warm-up. He then activated 100% fusion, unleashing his full power in a devastating attack that defeated Yo. This demonstrated the advanced form of soul integration. When two souls coexist in one body, conflict can arise. In Ren's view, seeing a ghost as a friend prevents full control, making 100% possession unattainable. Aware of the significant gap in strength between himself and Ren, Yo decides to send Amidamaru to the afterlife, unwilling to let his friend fall into someone like Ren's hands. Enraged, Ren prepares to kill Yo, but Amidamaru shields Yo with his body, determined to protect him from any harm. Ren, at 100% fusion, charges at Yo again, but unexpectedly, his lethal attack is caught single-handedly by Yo. Yo, too, has achieved 100% fusion. He explains to a bewildered Ren that suppressing a guardian ghost isn't necessary. A true connection of hearts can also reach 100% fusion. Until the very end, Ren couldn't understand how someone who treated ghosts as friends could have the same potential to become the Shaman King as himself. After a devastating defeat, Yo also collapsed from exhaustion and woke up in the hospital. Besides Amidamaru and Manta, a cute girl appeared at the door. Manta, unaware of the trouble he was stirring, demanded to know who she was. The girl, Anna, was a shamaness adopted by Yo's grandmother, raised as Yo's betrothed. At just 13, she already possessed formidable powers. As the prospective Shaman King's wife, Anna had traveled far to ensure her fiancé intensified his training. From the recent battle, it was evident that Yo was too weak, unable to defeat even Tao Ren, let alone the stronger competitors soon to arrive from around the world. Yo had never loved school as much as he did now, especially because Anna had been pushing him hard these past few days. Just when he thought he could find peace in a classroom without Anna, she surprised him by transferring to his school. To unwind, they went to the cinema to watch a movie starring the famous action star Lee Piran, known for his explosive martial arts style and unfortunate untimely death, with his body never found. As they were engrossed in Piran's past, an unwelcome guest appeared. Tao Ren's sister, Tao Jun. She came to claim Amidamaru for Ren, summoning a zombie using a talisman. Shockingly, the zombie was Lee Piran, turned into a zombie by Jun's parents as a gift to her. Yo was furious at such cruelty, killing an innocent for power. He initiated soul integration, ready to confront Jun, but Piran knocked Yo down with a single move. Yo was powerless against Piran's strength. As Yo refused to hand over Amidamaru, Jun instructed Piran to use his finishing moves, battering Yo severely. However, Yo stood up again, believing that while Jun could control Piran's body, she could never control his spirit. Hearing Yo's words, Piran shed tears, but helplessly bound to Jun's commands, he continued his assault on Yo. To help Yo become stronger, Anna chose not to intervene. However, Manta couldn't stand by and ran to find a suitable weapon for Yo. He happened upon Ryunosuke, who, after venting his frustration on Manta, agreed to lend his wooden sword. As a warrior, one's true strength is realized only with a sword in hand. Grateful to Manta, Yo and Amidamaru regained their fighting spirit. They dodged Pyron's attacks and destroyed the talisman on his head, freeing his sealed consciousness. Realizing he had been turned into a monstrous form by the Tao family, Pyron was consumed with rage and sought revenge on Jun. However, as he was about to strike, Yo stopped him. He urged Pyron to stay calm, explaining that killing Jun wouldn't change the past. Fuming, Pyron unleashed his anger on Yo, while Jun, realizing no one could match Pyron in his current state, ceased resisting. Anna, however, believed even the mighty Pyron had someone he feared. Jun remembered Pyron had a master, Shaman. Using her shamanic skills, Anna gathered the scattered soul of Master Shaman. After Yo disengaged from the fusion, Anna attached Shaman's soul to Yo. The boy was possessed by the ghost of the martial arts master Shaman. Despite his shaky appearance, it seemed unlikely he could withstand a strike from Pyron. However, facing Pyron's fierce attacks, Shaman easily dodged them and quickly identified weaknesses in Pyron's techniques, true to his status as a martial arts grandmaster. Shaman saw that his disciple had been blinded by hatred and had forgotten the true purpose of martial arts, which is to reach a state of ultimate freedom. Using Yo's body, Shaman executed his signature move from his lifetime. This punch not only knocked down Pyron, but also released the talisman inside him, freeing his soul. Now, Pyron appeared calm and returned to his living form. Jun, overwhelmed by these events, felt she could no longer stay. Just then, Pyron stopped her. As a martial arts enthusiast, Pyron was not ready to follow his master into the afterlife. He wanted to further refine the martial arts techniques he had been working on before his death. The zombie body created by the Tao family provided the perfect vessel for his continued training. Therefore, he asked Jun to help him with his practice. Elsewhere, Ryunosuke, having located a secret base, encountered another child who was also someone he shouldn't have messed with. Then he fell in love at first sight with a girl named Anna. Following Anna home, he was shocked to discover that she was living with the boy who had previously beaten him up. The large house was rented by Anna for just $50, which surprised Manta on his first visit. Of course, the rent was so low for a reason. The house was crowded, but that didn't matter to a shaman. Having lost both love and dignity, Ryunosuke no longer had the will to live. At that moment, a sinister figure appeared behind him, offering to help him defeat Yo by using his body. The possessed Ryunosuke then ordered his subordinates to steal Amidamaru's sword, Harusame, from the museum. Manta accidentally witnessed this and hurried to report it, but was intercepted by Ryunosuke on the way. Meanwhile, Yo, who was using the restroom, suddenly had a bad feeling that Manta might be in danger. Just as everyone was preparing to go rescue him, Ryunosuke confronted them. Anna immediately realized that he was possessed by an evil spirit. This man was possessed by the ghost of Tokagero, a spirit from 600 years ago seeking revenge on Amidamaru, who had killed him. Amidamaru didn't remember him, but vowed to protect Manta if Tokagero dared to harm him. Enraged, Tokagero prepared to attack Manta. Yo initiated soul integration, but Tokagero was waiting for this moment. Fortunately, Yo dodged the fatal strike, though he was shocked to see Amidamaru's beloved sword, Harusame, now in Tokagero's hands. The sword was forged by Mosuke from his father's relics. Though it pained him, Amidamaru, seeing Manta in danger, resolved to break Harusame using a deadly technique in coordination with Yo. Tokagero was surprised Amidamaru would break a sword forged by a friend. But Amidamaru understood that what Mosuke truly gave him was not the sword, but the resolve to sacrifice everything for a friend. Yo urged Tokagero to surrender, but he stubbornly continued his attack on Manta. Even Ryunosuke's subordinates couldn't stand it anymore, shocked that their former leader had turned into such a scoundrel. As the situation worsened, Tokagero took Ryunosuke hostage. Anna challenged Tokagero to act, promising to obliterate him once his possession ended. Yo, unwilling to see anyone hurt, offered himself in exchange for Ryunosuke. Tokagero accused Yo of false kindness and invaded his body without hesitation. Unexpectedly, instead of killing Yo, Tokagero began to cry, touched because, besides his mother, only Yo truly wanted to protect him. Tokagero lamented that if he had such companions earlier, he wouldn't have suffered so much. The crisis was resolved through sincerity, but the real challenges were just beginning. A brilliant meteor streaked across the sky, announcing the beginning of the Shaman King tournament, as decreed by the Supreme Spirit King. At this time, top shamans from around the world had gathered in Tokyo, including the seasoned siblings Jun and Ren. However, before Yo could face them again, he needed to defeat the mysterious man before him. This man was a descendant of the Patch tribe and possessed 5 nature spirits, each with 500 years of cultivation. Silva, the man, stated that if Yo could injure him within 10 minutes, Yo would earn a ticket to the Shaman King tournament. Knowing the man's background, Yo quickly completed soul integration with Amidamaru and launched a deadly attack on Silva, but Silva easily blocked his attack. Silva explained that Silver Shield represents defense, Silver Horn represents attack, Silver Tail represents speed, Silver Rod represents control, and Silver Wing represents flight. He has the power to materialize all these spirits. Yo realized that physical attacks were ineffective against Silva, so he decided to try a spiritual attack instead. He threw a Midamaru at Silva, but it was futile. Following Anna's example, Yo then recited a soul-purifying chant, which had no effect on Silva, but nearly purified a Midamaru instead. Amused, Silva gave a hint. His spirits were attached to specific pieces of his equipment. Yo understood that ghost materialization required an attribute-matching medium, leading to his new battle form, Oversoul. With Yo understanding how to use it, both were now on equal footing. Silva merged his spirits into his ultimate Oversoul totem cannon. If Yo could withstand this attack, he would pass the test. Failure meant death. After the smoke cleared, Silva was unharmed, while Yo had collapsed from exhaustion. Unexpectedly, Silva declared Yo had passed because he not only survived, but also cut off his own headband. Silva handed the Shaman King tournament pass to Yo. The Oracle Bell represents the Spirit King's will, and all match arrangements would be communicated through it. The ultimate victor would also receive power bestowed by the Spirit King. This boy is a descendant of wolves and gods, an Ainu tribe shaman named Horohoro, and Yo's next opponent. His guardian ghost is a nature spirit possessing tremendous power. This is Horohoro's Oversoul form. Countless ice spears charge towards Yo. Yo is forced to activate his Oversoul form to block them. A system announcement declares the official start of the match. If the Oversoul form is dispelled within the match time, the participant will be declared the loser. Horohoro launches ice spears again, but this time Yo easily blocks them with his shield and repels Horohoro with a single strike. In Yo's view, Horohoro's combat skills are too crude. Facing his ice spike attacks, Yo easily shatters them. Seeing this, Horohoro no longer holds back and prepares to unleash all his energy in a devastating final move. Suddenly, an avalanche rushes towards Yo, with Horohoro confident that this strike will completely defeat him. The immense power brings great pressure on Yo. Merely defending is a sure path to defeat, so he decides to take a risk. As the avalanche subsides, Yo disappears. Horohoro thinks he has buried Yo alive, but unexpectedly, Yo bursts out of the snow, delivering a decisive strike filled with the belief in victory. Yet Horohoro is unharmed. Yo had already noticed that Horohoro had dispelled his Oversoul. This battle is a victory for Yo. Ryunosuke celebrates Yo's first victory at home, and Horohoro joins in. His reason for wanting to become the Shaman King is simple: to help the nature spirits repair their damaged homeland. Yo finds Horohoro's dream noble and decides to help him achieve it. Fortunately, the tournament follows a double elimination format, giving Horohoro another chance. However, the joyful times are short-lived as Horohoro's sister Parika arrives, marking the end of his good days. Seeing Horohoro's miserable situation, Yo instantly feels a sense of kinship with him. This necromancer is impressive. He can turn a skeleton into a living being, ultimately transforming it into a blonde beauty. Named Faust, he is Yo's second opponent in the Shaman King preliminaries. As a necromancer, his power lies in summoning skeletons. Upon their first meeting, Faust summoned a group of skeletons that captured Manta and performed a live dissection on him. Yo managed to break free and rescue Manta, though Manta was severely injured. Furious, Yo fearlessly faced Faust's skeleton army, entering his oversoul form and instantly shattering all the skeletons. He broke through Faust's skeletal shield and inflicted serious injuries on him. However, Yo underestimated Faust's strength. The graveyard provided an endless supply of bones for Faust to command. Yo's energy rapidly depleted, while Faust healed behind a wall of skeletons. Blinded by rage, Yo recklessly charged at Faust but collapsed from exhaustion halfway. Despite this, Yo refused to give up, determined to make those who hurt Manta pay. Sensing the right moment, Faust prepared to eliminate Yo. Beside him, a skeleton transformed into a flesh and blood blonde woman. His oversoul, Eliza. Anna stepped forward to help, but a stubborn Yo stopped her, insisting on defeating Faust personally. Hearing Yo call his beloved creation a mere puppet, Faust erupted in rage and commanded Eliza to attack Yo fiercely. Eliza was none other than his dearly beloved wife, who was killed by robbers. Overwhelmed by grief, Faust turned to necromancy. However, Yo believed that this did not justify Faust's reckless harming of others. Such a person, Yo argued, did not deserve to become the Shaman King. He concentrated his remaining strength at the tip of his sword and shattered Eliza with a single strike. Yo then collapsed from exhaustion, and his oversoul state was released. Yo lost the match. Once dreaming of being a lazy person, Yo felt an unprecedented unwillingness to accept defeat. He had never so strongly desired power. Although the match was over, Faust was not ready to let things go. He gathered his power into a giant skeleton that struck towards Yo. At this critical moment, a figure flashed, and the giant skeleton crumbled. Tao Ren appeared on the scene, and he was Yo's next opponent. Holding a combination weapon of a hammer and a large sword, Ren's oversoul form is extremely powerful. Ren charged at Yo, forcing him into a defensive position with his aggressive attacks. However, even when he teleported behind Yo, his attacks were still blocked. Taking advantage of a momentary lapse in Ren's focus, Yo began his counterattack, but Ren nullified it as well. Despite the intense offensive and defensive battle, Ren's energy showed no signs of depleting. He evolved his oversoul once more and charged at Yo. Facing Ren, whose energy level was higher than his own, Yo barely managed to block the attacks. VIII materialized, slammed Yo to the ground, but Yo blocked this powerful strike as well. After this round, however, there was a clear gap in their energy levels. Amidamaru, using his rich combat experience, spotted a flaw in VIII's technique. He advised Yo on how to dodge effectively, allowing Yo to deliver a decisive blow that shattered Ren's oversoul. Ren, unwilling to accept defeat, couldn't afford to lose at all costs. He summoned his mount and merged with the spirit of the strongest horse, which had once been VIII's warhorse. The fusion made him immensely powerful, equalizing his energy level with Yo's. It all came down to one final move. For the first time, Yo attempted to materialize Amidamaru to meet Ren's strongest strike. After a massive energy blast, both Ren's and Yo's energy levels dropped to 0, and they both released their oversouls. It was unclear who won. Fortunately, Silva was present. He declared the match a draw, and both advanced to the main Shaman King tournament, facing shamans from around the world, including the legendary man. Ren stays temporarily at Yo's house. As a boy bearing his family's mission, Ren experiences for the first time what it means to have friends. However, the happy times are always brief, and Ren must eventually return home to resolve matters with his family. I've never seen a father like this. He not only imprisons his own daughter but also sets hordes of zombies against his son. However, with Tao Ren's current strength, handling these zombies is not a problem. He enters his oversoul form and easily defeats several zombie soldiers until his father, Tao Ren, appears. The formidable Basin seems like an ant in front of him. Ren, seeing his sister imprisoned in the distance, is enraged, especially after learning that his father killed Pyron to vent his anger because Jun defended Yo and him. Ren cannot tolerate it any longer and vows to make his father pay. However, to Tao Ren, his own son is too weak to cause him any harm. Heartlessly, Tao Ren locks his children in the dungeon and subjects them to inhumane torture. Jun loses all hope, but Ren does not see it that way. This time, he is not fighting alone. At this critical moment, Basin runs to seek help from Yo. Everyone immediately heads to China upon receiving the news. After scouting by Tokagero and Amidamaru, they find the Tao family compound deserted, likely a trap. But even if what lies ahead is perilous, nothing can stop them from rescuing their friends. Upon entering the room, they are immediately confronted by 5 different zombies, each a secret weapon refined by Tao Ren. These zombies are incredibly fast, and Ryunosuke is quickly overwhelmed. If not for Horohoro's timely rescue, they might have all been killed on the spot. Seeing the strength of the enemy, the group prepares to fight back. Yo rushes ahead to the dungeon to rescue Ren and Jun. He initially wants them to leave quickly, but the stubborn Ren insists on defeating his own father. This has been his obsession for a long time. Ren has been raised from a young age with the ruthless doctrine of reviving the Tao family at any cost. Numerous innocent people have died because of him and his father. Only by defeating his father can he break the Tao family's distorted beliefs. Ren does not want to involve Yo. If his obsession causes Yo to get hurt, he would regret it for life. However, as a friend, how could Yo not step in to help?
Yo.
How strong are the zombies created by the martial arts master Shaman? Ryunosuke was beaten to an unknown fate, and Horohoro remains unconscious. Even the powerful Ren and Yo can only defend passively against Shaman's combination attacks because the opponent's speed is too fast for them to react. Fortunately, Jun repaired Pyron and arrived just in time. Disappointed in her father, Jun seemed transformed, no longer holding back. She resolved that her father would not hurt her or her brother again. With Jun's enchantments, Pyron's speed and strength surged. Shaman used the same deadly move that had previously defeated Pyron, but this time, Pyron dodged it. Seizing the opportunity, Pyron used his finishing move to defeat Shaman. Jun's decisive action shocked Yo, Ren, and the others, but the battle was not over yet. Tao Ren was waiting at the top of the tower. Tao Ren had been waiting for a long time. His immense stature startled everyone. With just the force of one finger, he scattered the group. Horohoro and Ryunosuke tried to counterattack in their oversoul forms, but were flicked away by Tao Ren's finger. Pyron attempted a sneak attack, but failed to inflict any damage. Tao Ren's slap rendered Pyron incapacitated. Facing his rebellious son, Tao Ren mercilessly attacked him. At that moment, Yo took the blow for Ren, suffering immense pain from the powerful force. All his friends had been dealt with by their father. Tao Ren wanted his son to face reality, but everyone stood up again to resist him. Tao Ren couldn't understand why these people were so foolish, willing to sacrifice themselves for others. Little did he know, friendship is the strongest force. Annoyed and embarrassed, Tao Ren launched a full-strength strike at his son, but in the next second, his fist passed right through Ren's body. For a long time, Ren and Jun, under their father's intimidation, were forced to resist using strength, not realizing that what they were interacting with was actually an oversoul, and this man was their real father. This person's oversoul, a dragon body, is a dragon formed by the spirits of the Tao family. Tao Ren's body is wrapped with tokens, as he, bearing the will of the Tao family, must always be connected with the spirits of his ancestors. This is also Tao Ren's future mission. If this rebellious son dares to defy the head of the family's will, even if it is his own son, Tao Ren is prepared to enforce discipline. However, Ren is fearless, having resolved to follow his own path and uphold his own beliefs. To Tao Ren's surprise, VIII pins the Oversoul Dragon to the ground with a punch. The duel of Oversouls is not about strength, but a contest of beliefs. Clearly, Tao Ren's conviction wavers. Although the outcome is determined, Tao Ren is still not satisfied. Just then, Ren's grandfather and mother appear and put an end to the drama. What was a life-and-death battle turns into a lavish dinner, leaving everyone bewildered and suspicious that the food might be poisoned. In reality, Ren's grandfather has long understood that the Tao family cannot continue as before, but needs to progress with the times and adopt a developmental perspective. He hopes that through this battle, Tao Ren can let go of his obsessions, and is also happy that Ren has so many good friends. Thus ends the journey of the Tao family. The group is set to travel to Tokyo to participate in the Shaman King tournament. On the way to Japan, Ren's father catches up and hands over the family's heirloom silver sword to Ren. This is the first time he has opened up to his son, hoping that Ren will use this sword to carve out his own future.